Well, good evening, everybody, and welcome to the April 2023 Outdoor Ethics and Conservation Roundtable. It's great to have everybody here. I think we got a great topic tonight, a great presenter, and I think we're all going to enjoy it. So we'll be starting off with a safety moment. Well, actually, we'll have our opening. Then we'll have our safety moment on nap safety. Michelle will take us through that. And then Marnie Lamley will be talking to us about Project Learning Tree, which is a program I think we can get a lot of good material out of for our programs, especially with camps and advancements. We've got a new segment this month. Starting this month, we have the activity of the month. And if you guys have a better name for it than that, I would appreciate hearing it. I'm sure we can come up with something. Just pop it in the chat and we'll think what it is. So Matt will be taking us through that. And then we'll hear from Scott Anderson with Outdoor Ethics and Conservation FAQ, which is always very, very on point and helpful. We'll have a couple announcements and then we'll stop the formal meeting and we will then go into question and answer time. So with that, let's start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Scout salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. 2. Scout oath. On my honor, I will do my best to do my duty to God and my country and to obey the Scout law, to help other people at all times, to keep myself physically strong, mentally awake, and morally straight. The Scout law. The Scout is trustworthy, loyal, helpful, friendly, courteous, kind, obedient, cheerful, thrifty, brave, clean, and reverent. 2. And finally, the outdoor code. As an American, I will do my best to be clean in my outdoor manners, to be careful with fire, be considerate in the outdoors, and be conservation-minded. Well, good evening, everybody. And at this point, I'd like to turn it over to Michelle Bierstedt, who will take us through nap safety.
And I know it seems sort of like a silly topic, but it's really not if you consider that most traffic accidents occur because people fall asleep on the road, or many accidents occur because of falling asleep on the road. Scouts are notorious for this. We run and run and run for a week straight at summer camp or at a training. We try to leave late so that we can get back home. And the reality is that we should all take the time to take a nap. So what can you do in 26 minutes to be more alert, make better decisions, and increase your performance? Take a nap. Next slide, Paul. So 6 minutes of a nap will enhance memory 10 to 15 minutes to improve focus and productivity. The NASA nap, that 26 minutes, is the optimal time for performance enhancement of 34% of overall alertness and an increase of 54%. Extending the nap, however, can make you groggy. So for people like me who like that 3-hour nap, that just disrupts the sleep cycle. So that 26 minutes is about perfect. 90 minutes of napping can give you a boost of creativity as you finish a cycle, and it can also top off a sleep that you missed before. However, it can also disrupt you going to bed that night. So plan a nap between 1 and 3 so it fits the rhythm of most folks. Want everyone to be fresh at your evening campfire? Give them a program break and extend naps from 1 to 3 at the next camporee, or as we get into summer camp season, build in some time for people to rest in between. Next. Napping can't take the place of getting enough regular sleep, but it certainly can help you through the week at scout camp or make up for staying up late around the campfire with your crew the night before. Napping can also resist comfort foods and lose some excess weight, lower your risk of cardiac disorders, reduce the risk of diabetes by lowering insulin and cortisol levels, reduce stress and anxiety by reducing or by lowering the cortisol and releasing growth hormones, Combat driving fatigue on a long trip with an emergency nap. Doesn't take much to stop at a rest stop for 26 minutes. It takes scouts 30 minutes to go to the restroom and run around a rest stop anyway. So make sure you have a safe area to set up your hammock, or make your room darker or cover your eyes using the 2 pirate patches, an eye mask, or an ostrich pillow. Lie down instead of sitting up. Good news for hammock campers. Hammocks are the best place to nap, as a gentle swaying will help you go to sleep in that time frame. So with that, your safety moment, remember to take time for yourself, rest, and get plenty of rest before going on that long trek back home.
Would you like to tell them about this?
Sure, go ahead. Got the cards? So if you wanted to make it a fun type thing and have it be like a scout leader training at camp, or at a camporee, a scouting university, or at summer camp, I sent Paul some of these little nap safely cards. So on the front side is the nap safely, just like a regular training card. And on the back side, it actually gives you the nap safely commitments. And it goes through qualified supervision, just like your safety afloat or safe swim defense would do. And you can sign that and get everybody involved with taking naps and being well rested before taking scouts driving along on the highway.
All right, we'll post this along with the recording of the roundtable. All right, thank you, Michelle.
Yeah.
Would you like to introduce Marnie for us, please?
I would like to, yep. So tonight, the Outdoor Ethics Committee would like to welcome Marnie Lamley, this Project Learning Tree State Coordinator for South Dakota. Marnie's enthusiasm for the great outdoors began as a child growing up in Colorado, where she spent countless hours camping, fishing, hiking, and canoeing. She came to South Dakota in 1990. Marnie earned a BS in biology and an MS in secondary education at Northern State University in Aberdeen, South Dakota. After graduation, she took a position with the Wildlife Division of Game, Fish, and Parks of South Dakota as a naturalist consultant. Marnie also teaches ecology and geology soil classes as an adjunct instructor at Lake Area Technical College in Watertown, South Dakota. In 2021, Marnie became the Project Learning Tree State Coordinator. In 2022, she also became the South Dakota Envirothon Coordinator. Thank you, Marnie, for sharing your passion for outdoor education and Project Learning Tree with us this evening.
Well, I am really so happy to hear about how beneficial my naps are. First of all, thank you for getting me into some encouraging, I can share others with your cards if you don't mind. I would love to share that information. But to get into what I'm sharing with the Boy Scouts of America tonight, we'll be focusing on Project Learning Tree, which is a national accredited and standardized curriculum for conservation and outdoor education, with a focus on bringing learning outdoors and incorporating the topics that encourage us all to have a better appreciation of our surroundings, helps encourage stewardship of the land and the plants and the animals that we all, or most of us, have an opportunity to experience at least once in a while, especially at camp for the Boy Scouts. So if we look at Project Learning Tree at a glance, it's been in effect for over 40 years, and their main idea is to teach the students how to think, not what to think. So giving them the tools and the background and the information about complex environmental issues, as well as the basic fundamentals and foundational learnings we have to build on. And Project Learning Tree is an initiative of the SFI, which is the Sustainable Forest Initiative. And so the sustainable forest vision is a world that values and benefits from sustainably managed forests. Project Learning Tree doesn't only focus on forests, but that's how it originally started. And the idea was to advance sustainability through forest-focused collaboration. So you'll find Project Learning Tree working with SFI's vision and mission as far as support and encouragement of collaborating with other institutes. Sometimes we work with nature conservancies, conservation districts. We also will do workshops where we include Project Wet or Project Wild. And sometimes we're also working with Leopold or the Subaru's project, Leave No Trace. We also work with them as well. And very good. So as far as what the main focus is, it's all about education, and we want to advance that environmental literacy and stewardship. And another focus that we found beneficial to especially to organizations like the Boy Scouts of America is that we want to encourage the knowledge of career pathways, and we want to help the students and the campers and participants realize that there is a future in the environmental world, and it's not just being a forest ranger or just being a soils management technician or something. That there's even positions in as far as accounting if you're good with numbers, or statistics if you want to keep track of animal populations, or go into where you would actually look for different species of trees and identify those and work with maybe pests or control of diseases that they may succumb to. So encouraging them to look into career pathways. They're starting to notice that there is a decline in people who are looking into employment with the Forest Service or with the Game Fish and Park. So they want to really encourage that outdoor learning to help them look into the future and see some possible career pathways. So the PLT vision is very closely related to the Sustainable Forest Initiative. They want to create a future where the next generation values the natural world and has the knowledge and skills necessary to make informed decisions and take responsible actions to sustain forest and the broader environment. And the mission is to advance environmental literacy, stewardship, and career pathways using trees and forests as a window to the world. And the history, one of the fun activities is that we do a lot with our tree cookies, which is just another way of saying a slice of a tree. And it was originally launched in the 1970s. By 2017, it became that part of the Sustainable Forest Initiative. And many of us operate as a nonprofit group, which means that we have to go in and arrange our own funding. We also look into a lot of different organizations that we can partner with to keep costs reasonable. One of the main costs is generally for the people who take workshops to learn more about using the curriculum or the books, lesson plans, guides, is usually just covering the cost of the curriculum. And I usually try to find grants in the state of South Dakota to cover the books and curriculum. You'll find across the nation that different Project Learning Tree programs might be incorporated into the DNR. They might be in the Department of Ag. They might be in with the Conservation District, might be in with the Game Fish and Parks office. And so Project Learning Tree sometimes falls under a full-time employer or employer's decision to who is going to assign Project Learning Tree to, whose duty is that to spread the word through the state. And if you go in and you look on the project, plt.org is the website. If you look into that, you can click on the state map and find out who your state coordinator is, as well as many coordinators in Canada And I think we are just beginning to reach out to Mexico. And I think that those are really great prospects for us. And there's a lot of work being done now to implement more of Indigenous people's point of view and tie into the lesson plans. So that's also something that's currently being done. And it is then today it is most widely used as a pre-K through 12 environmental education. So the goal for the students who take any kind of PLT programming, a field day, or an outdoor experience, or are following the PLT curriculum by their teachers or their camp directors or whoever is using the PLT guide and materials. The first thing is that we want the students to become aware of their surroundings, just be open to what's outdoors, and a lot of it is making sure that they just take the time to slow down. A huge awareness part of it is using their observation skills and using their sensory skills. So using the sight and sound and smell, even the taste for that matters, getting feeling for the air. Is it hot? Is it cold? And then once they begin an awareness, we want to give them the knowledge to maybe put some scientific learning. We want to give them a basis of knowledge of how do trees grow, what's the ecology like, how do the trees relate to the soil, where are all the plants and animals getting their water, is their water clean, is there a pollution source, how would we identify that? And then we want to challenge those students then to begin discovering on their own and to become more curious. And by challenging them and giving them a little bit of that knowledge and awareness, we can build on those higher level thinking skills. And then the hope is that eventually they'll take some responsible action. They'll be very active in conservation. They'll be hopefully actively pursuing summer internships or even just using the outdoors as recreation and the health benefits that come with the nature and the good clean air, and wanting them to just take ownership and take part and really become part of their surroundings in a conservation-minded attitude. Oh, other way.
There we go.
There we are. So the hope is that we create great partnerships. And this is just an example of our balance circle, but the bottom circle is encouraging us to share those with other partnerships. So incorporating an organization like the Boy Scouts of America is a goal in many states, and they're very, very active with the Boy Scouts. And I think that the next couple slides will show you how to use the Project Learning Tree curriculum. So here are some of the partners we worked with before. You can see there is Boy Scouts of America listed on there, as well as the Forest Service. And we also have the National Geographic, and the NAEE is an important part of it. You can go ahead to that next one too if you want, that's fine. And so what they wanted us to do here was then focus on, we can see nationally who we have that we can reach out to, and then you would go on to follow up. If you wanted to see what else you could look into, you would go into your state level to see who in your state runs or is affiliated with these partners and organizations, and then look a little more closely locally. Do we have access to a conservation district? Who's currently running our PLT programming? Will they come in and train our camp supervisors, or our what do you call the individuals who run the small groups, the stations or rotations at camp?
So either counselors or instructors, if it's a short-term camp, or it could even be one of the den leaders or a scout
Right.
leader. So,
Perfect. So I would then encourage you to say, hey, let's get a project learning tree facilitator, call a facilitator over here to train all of those people, and then go ahead and pick out the programs that correlate with your medal system. So you just start at the top and work on down, see who you can get a hold of locally. There in South Dakota, we do not charge to come in and train people to use the curriculum or the book. And we support your work by giving you the professional development, which is we would come in and train those people to use the project learning tree activities. We would also then help you get access to all the curriculum materials and the lesson plans. And then we would also be able to put you in contact locally with other people who might be available to collaborate with a camp if you need help, or even just support of people who might want to be able to come over and volunteer. So this is just what we offer. They want to be sure that you understand that it's a pretty high success rate. Once someone learns about Project Learning Tree, they tend to follow through and use the curriculum pretty heavily. You can do this online. If a person wants to learn more about it, any kind of training can be done online if your state doesn't have a coordinator, which it may not. One of the main guides is a pre-K through 8. They have a green jobs that I talked about where they talk about careers, and it has a really fun quiz and different card games. You can look up careers in conservation. Then there's some more focused guides. They have a brand new climate guide if that becomes one of the goals of the Scouts. Secondary modules hit your upper levels, so your junior high and high school focuses. And the green schools would probably not apply to the Boy Scouts. And nationwide and regional support. And this is just a picture of some of the activities that we do. Some of it's the one on the lower right hand corner is a training for it would be like a den leader training or one of your counselor trainings. And then it generally is showing you that the activities don't require a lot of money, because we realize that these are for education and sometimes the funding is minimal. So almost all of the activities are with tools or instruments or paper plates or whatever you may have. Dirt and trees is easy to get a hold of for most of us. Okay, next slide. And I wanted to include that so you knew where PLT, how you could get a hold of plt.org. And that's the website. Next one's good. Oh, you can back up one more. If it is of any interest, we do follow the national standards for schools and the STEM strategies as well. Let's skip this one. And this one. This isn't looking like what I thought I sent you. And skip this one. And skip this one. And this one. Well, I'm just batting 1,000. Skip. There should be some pictures of what the book looks like. So let's skip a few here until we get to a book. Well, that was nothing like what I thought I sent you. I must have sent you the wrong one. Okay,
Oops.
That's all right. No, well, that I am not shocked because I am not a technical
Well,
genius.
I've got here.
Yes, where did that come from? Yes, that's exactly what I wanted.
Great.
Great. Okay, scroll up on that one. Good job. So this is the Project Learning Tree website, and this is where this comes more effectively and applies to you a little more focused in the Boy Scouts of America. So what they've done here is they have correlated all of the lesson plans so that they match up with the Cub Scout adventures, the grade 1 through 5. Scroll down a little bit. So all of those activities, we have lined up with specific activities in the PLT guide. So that green and blue cloud one has over 50 activities that are lined up so that they have an introduction, an objective. Oh, very nice. Oh, look at that. Excellent. So what it gives you is the title of the activity in the PLT guide, that blue and green book, and how it lines up with the mountain lion or the other badges that you would have. Look at that. There you are. That is golden. This is how it applies to exactly what you're doing. So if you want to cover a medal, it will give you the page number and the name of the activity that will help you support learning that requirement. And it's all broken down into the grade levels for you. Environmental science is a big one. And the website will actually let you click on and see an example of the activity. So as I said before, it has an introduction, it has a background, so a person doesn't have to be an expert in climate change. It will give you the background on it. It gives you the activity. All of the activities are hand-on for the most part, because they've found that just increases the ability to learn. And then if it is maybe a data collection activity, they give you the student worksheets so that they can fill in the data and correlate it and put together results. It also gives an assessment at the end. Sometimes outdoor activities, it's a little hard to assess to see if the students learned or the campers learned what you were hoping to teach them.
I just
Very
posted the links to these web pages in the chat.
Thank you.
We'll post the links with the recording as well.
Okay, very good. The curriculums are easy to use, very user-friendly. So that blue and green Explore Your Environment, very easy to use. User-friendly is the top marks in my opinion.
So the way I got to those was when I click on the picture of the book, I got
That's it.
that document. So it was pretty easy to do.
Good. Well, I'm glad that you were able to just pick up and fill in where my slides left off, because I don't know where those went. Yeah. Speaking of the Envirothon, I also run the Envirothon. And so I was telling Michelle last Tuesday, we had a blizzard and I had to reschedule the Envirothon for 2 days ago, Tuesday, and it was 78 degrees. And so it's been a little bit of madness here in South Dakota over the past week. So the fact that my brain didn't completely work this afternoon when I was reviewing my PowerPoint is not shocking to me. Does anybody have any questions, or have you heard of Project Learning Tree before?
This is Joe Sartorius. I'm with the Greater St. Louis Area Council. And yes, I've heard of Project Learning Tree, and we actually are working with 29 school districts in the St. Louis County area, plus St. Louis public schools, and developing an outdoor education with Project Learning Tree as one of the significant contributors as far as information for the teachers coming to our scout camp.
Wonderful. Are they finding it user-friendly?
Well, our workshop's not till August. We're actually in the developmental stages. And so we're working with the Missouri Conservation Department, the U.S. Forestry Service. Of course, our council has a 2,400 acre property in St. Louis County. And we've met with all the superintendents and are in the initiative of setting up the teacher workshop. We actually have opened the camp up to school groups coming out during the school day because the camps pretty much sit empty during the school year when kids are in school. And so we're trying to encourage school groups to come out and use our facilities. And it's been really well received in the St. Louis area. So this is a major focus for the Greater St. Louis area.
That brings up a wonderful point that you being able to utilize your camps. And when you're encouraging teachers or classes to come in, most of the time the superintendents want to know that the national standards are being met with the lesson plans, and that encourages them to go ahead and invest that time and money. If it's for buses or substitute teachers, it helps them to justify sending a class out for the day.
Exactly. And the standards from Missouri go right along with the school district standards, the Scouts requirements. We've coordinated all that, and we actually have about a 3-page handout that correlates all the state standards, the PLT standards, and so forth. So, yeah, that's real significant for educators.
Awesome. Thanks for bringing that up.
Marnie, I guess one question to go through here for these resources here, those would be purchased here on the right? Or
Yes. And
okay.
it is possible to purchase them online now. Until when we had our 3-year hold back on being able to meet in person, they made the guides available online, even without a workshop. But I would encourage people to take a workshop if possible. But yes, you can order the guides online. I think that the newer, then don't order the pink and purple one. That one is older. And I like the new green and blue, green and sky guide, the Explore Your Environment guide. It runs $34.99. I know that's how much that one is. Okay. And you can get it. You can get an ebook, and I think that's less.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. But if you go to the trouble to order the guide, you might as well have somebody come and show you how to use it, because that there's no charge for us to come and do that.
All right. Well, thank you, Marnie. This has been very, very helpful. Can you hang around for a while, and at the end here, maybe people have more questions they'll think of as we.
I will. I see one that popped up. What is an online course? So the online course is when you do click onto the website, you would just search an online course. I would go with the Explore Your Environment online course, and I think it takes like 4 hours. And if you go through your state coordinator, there may not be a fee to take the online course. Otherwise, I think it's minimal. I don't think it's very much.
And I would recommend definitely taking, if you can do an in-person course with your state coordinator or at your state park. Those are a lot more fun. You get a whole class of people together and you're doing the activities at the same time. That's how I took mine, was right here at our outdoor campus in Sioux Falls. And it was a whole group of teachers that took it. And it was a riot watching everybody kind of go through and doing our own. I think we did it over a couple of, it was for continuing ed credit. So for us, it was like 3 weeks or 4 weeks that we met for an hour or so at our state park here in Sioux Falls. And it was so much fun to do it with a bunch of colleagues and do the hands-on stuff. So online is great, but we all know that it can get tedious. So if you can do it in person, or like Marnie said, if you can get with your state coordinator and come up with a place and get a whole bunch of scout leaders together to do it, think of how much that will add to our merit badge program or to our Cub Camp programs.
That's a great idea, Michelle. Being out there with a group of your peers learning, and when they found that if a person actually experiences how to do the activities, experiences how to read a tree cookie, the tree rings on the tree cookie, or how to actually estimate the crown of a tree, or to identify species of trees or grasses or plants, or do a soil acidity test, or whatever you do, they found that if you do it hands-on with a group, you're much more likely to incorporate it yourself into the learning that you present. It's much easier to learn by doing than to read about how to do it. So yeah, encouraging people to go in and take the workshop and actually get that experience. And you can, like you said, Michelle, they can get continuing ed credits if they are a teacher during the school year.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you for having me. It's wonderful. I really hope this is something that those of you who haven't heard of Project Learning Tree will look into a little bit more closely.
Great. All right. Thank you. And now
Mark?
we're going to move forward, and Matt Durant has put together a great activity here. Do you want to introduce it, or should I just go ahead and show it, Matt?
Sure, I'll introduce it a little bit. The idea was brought up about having an activity every month presented, something that you could take and use in your units or in your teaching. So we decided to start that this week, and we'll do that each month from this point forward. But if you have any particular topics that you would like to see an activity about that you could take and use, go ahead and email those to me. I'll put my email address in the chat. Or if you have any suggestions or things you'd like to see presented, we can do that. And we'll keep having this segment as we go forward. So this particular activity is one I came up based on a couple of the Leave No Trace principles that we all know and love. And with that said, we'll just go ahead and go in and play it, and you can see it for yourself.
Okay, let's make sure I'm sharing sound here. All right.
For tonight's activity, I want to show you a game called Garbage Golf. This game combines aspects of principle number 1, plan ahead and prepare, and principle number 3, dispose of waste properly. As we all know, trash is one of the biggest and most obvious impacts we can have on the outdoors. We've all seen signs and slogans such as the one shown here, and I'd like to think that we're all pretty well versed in making sure we take out what we bring. Hopefully we leave places better than we found them. With a little extra planning and preparation, we can figure out ways to reduce the amount of trash we bring with us. Another way to look at this sign is thinking along the lines of, if you don't pack it in, you won't have to pack it out. Not only does reducing our trash before we leave help us make less of an impact on the environment, but it can also reduce weight, bulk, and food prep time as well. It doesn't matter if you're backpacking, canoeing, car camping, or anything in between, the end result will be a cleaner and more efficient camp. So here's one way to turn waste reduction into a game. The idea is that you would use this game as your unit prepares their food for an outing. You can have patrols compete against each other, or this can also be done individually, depending on your unit and what type of outing you're going on. I've called it Garbage Golf because it's scored like golf, meaning the more trash you eliminate, the lower your score goes. The goal is to get as close to 0 as possible, or even negative if you can. So here are the rules. Each packaged food item counts as 1 piece of trash. 1 piece equals 1 point. I know that many of these items would probably produce more, but for the sake of simplicity, we'll leave it at 1. Items such as bagged jerky or dehydrated meals are 0, because the bag they come in can be repurposed and used as a receptacle to pack out other trash. So in this picture, we have 11 different items, but the bagged jerky and the dehydrated meal count as 0 because those bags can be repurposed. The other 9 items all count as 1 point, so we want to try and repackage them and remove some of the packaging they came in so that we don't have to bring it with us, and that will reduce our score. Additionally, Ziploc bags are worth 1 point because they are still, at the end of the day, single-use trash. The reusable bags or containers are worth -1 point because they can be reused as many times as needed. Now, each food that you unpackage and place in a bag is worth -1 points, and so that's how we reduce our impact, is by unpackaging things and combining them into these containers. Now, even though I haven't technically unpackaged these foods because I'm not currently going on an outing, this particular scenario, if these foods had been unpackaged and placed in the Ziploc bags, would be worth -4 points. And this is how that works. The Backpacker's Pantry and Jack Link's Jerky are each worth 0, so there's no problem there. The ramen, which packaged was 1 point, now being unpackaged and putting it in the Ziploc bag would be -1 point, and that would cancel out the 1 point for the Ziploc bag, bringing the total for that scenario to 0. The 2 granola bars, which originally had a value of 2 points apiece, being unpackaged and put into the Ziploc bag, creates a total of -2 for those bars. The Ziploc bag being 1 point added together creates a total of -1 points. The tortillas in their original packaging is worth 1 point, but unpackaged they're worth -1. And when placed in the reusable bag, which you can't see right now because the tortillas are on top of it, would count as a total of -2 because the reusable bag is also -1. So all of those put together create a total for your repackaged food of -4 points. If you recall from the first slide, there are a few items still left that we have not been able to repackage. Since there are 5 of these items left, each of them score 1 point, and when added to our repackaged total of -4, comes out as a total of 1 point overall. This is not bad, but I'm sure there are many other scenarios and ways of repackaging things and combinations of using reusable containers for our repackaged food that could possibly push this score even lower. And that's what makes this very flexible and very fun, especially in a group or patrol setting as a competition. It allows the kids to use their creativity to come up with solutions to decrease their impact. Now, just because I've done it this way doesn't mean you can't be creative and alter the points or the rules in any way that you see fit according to your circumstances. But this is just a fun idea to make this sometimes tedious process of food preparation become a little bit more fun and have an objective that gears us towards thinking of leave no trace and minimizing our impact. Thanks for being here tonight. This has been the April Outdoor Ethics and Conservation Roundtable activity idea.
All right. Thank you, Matt. That was great. Appreciate that a lot. Okay, our next segment here is our FAQ. So Scott Anderson was not able to be with us this evening, but he did record his FAQ for us, and here it is.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to this month's Outdoor Ethics and Conservation Frequently Asked Questions. This month, I'm going to talk about what qualifies as a conservation-related service project. So what is the backstory here? Well, one of our dedicated scouting volunteers who serves as his Conservation Committee Chair in his council sent me a query about a scout who does a bike patrol at a local wildlife and nature preserve. Preserve has patrol groups on foot, bike, and horseback. They patrol the preserve, checking in with the visitors for safety, compliance, understanding of the rules, to identify trail maintenance, and to update groups on wildlife sightings. The Conservation Committee would consider and accept this as a Scout Conservation Service hours. The Scoutmaster, however, does not. He wants the Scout to do some physical, more traditional type of service project like trail maintenance or the removal of invasive species. So what is acceptable BSA conservation service is the query. To begin with, I'd like to point you toward an Aaron on Scouting article that was published back in June of last year. Does picking up trash constitute conservation? And Aaron writes a nice article with expert help from Brian Gray, and they talk about conservation and conservation projects. So there's a good resource that might help inform your decision-making here. Specifically, what this involves is the Life Scout requirement, number 4. Now, it says number 1 on the sheet, but it's actually number 4. While a Star Scout, participate in 6 hours of service through 1 or more service projects approved by your Scoutmaster. At least 3 hours of this service must be conservation related. So let's take a minute and dissect this requirement a bit to see where it takes us. So number 1 is participate. So it is not give leadership to or organize and run a service project. It is a requirement that the Scout participates in 6 hours of service. Next thing I'd like to highlight is it does say through 1 or more service projects. Why that's important is there's a difference between a project and service. So a project is something that is temporary. It results in a new or modified or retired good or service. In other words, projects result in the modification of something existing or the creation of something new. A project defines a boundary that includes the resources and capabilities required to achieve the project and deliver the desired results. A service, on the other hand, delivers some value to the organization to achieve outcomes while removing the ownership of specific costs and risk. Thus, the service always has an operational aspect. A key difference between a service project and service. Next thing I want to highlight is it says here, approved by your Scoutmaster. This language makes it very clear that the Scoutmaster is empowered to determine what projects are appropriate for each Scout in order to fulfill the requirement. The Scoutmaster is uniquely positioned to make this determination based on the Scout's capabilities and the personal growth goals. Scouting volunteers outside of the unit should not dictate to Scoutmasters how they must interpret this requirement. However, a little education can go a long way, specifically at roundtables or training events that, could help Scoutmasters who are struggling to understand the requirement's intent. The last one I want to point out is it does say conservation related. Conservation related can mean a number of other things. So let's define conservation first. National Geographic came up with this determination that it is an act of protecting Earth's natural resources for current and future generations. Service projects that relate to the goal of protecting Earth's natural resources should also be considered. Some good resources in trying to define conservation projects are the Conservation Good Turn Award, the Conservation Handbook, and the Distinguished Conservation Service Award. Their information can all be found on the scouting.org website under outdoor programs, and you'll see the link to conservation and the environment. The brand new Conservation Handbook is due to be out soon. At the moment, it is out of print, and it has been updated. We are just waiting for its release. So back to our story. A couple of things that I want to point out here. The Scout does a bike patrol, which is a service for the nature preserve or the wildlife preserve. So it is not necessarily a project. I think that's a key difference here and would help us in providing some guidance. However, that being said, it's possible that Scoutmaster could be convinced of the value of the Scout's service. So what was my response? Well, I informed our volunteer that the BSA has no stated policy on what constitutes a conservation-related service project. I recommended that the Scout attempt to resolve the issue by convincing the Scoutmaster that the service is conservation-related, suggesting that the Scout compose a detailed argument on how the service on a bike patrol for a wildlife preserve is indeed helping to protect a precious natural resource, and thus should qualify as conservation related. But I will reiterate that it is not necessarily a project. And then I asked that if the Scout is not successful in gaining the approval, the Scout should cheerfully work on conservation related projects that satisfy the Scoutmaster's criteria. And then lastly, I just wanted to try to emphasize that the Council Conservation Committee would not typically put themselves in the position of interfering with a unit leader's decision-making on this issue. So what is the takeaway? Well, Scoutmasters determine what is a conservation-related service project. And conservation-related implies that we should expand our thinking to include projects that support an organization's work to preserve and protect the natural areas. So it may not be removing an invasive species or installing a water bar. It might be helping with signage or helping to clean an area, whatever that supports those organizational goals would be a conservation-related project. And there's a difference between service and a service project. That's all I have for you today. Unfortunately, I am not on the call. I had to record this in advance because I have a conflict tonight. But thank you for all you do to support outdoor ethics and conservation and scouting. And if you have any questions, the members of the committee on the call, I'm sure will be able to help you. Good luck and good scouting. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Okay. Well, that's the end of most of the program here tonight, but I'm going to ask you this every month. You guys are going to hear this, and please send some ideas. Think about topics you'd like to see for future roundtables. I am always looking for ideas for roundtables, trying to find things that are of interest and of value to you. And the way I know that is if you ask me for them. So please take a chance now. You can put it into the chat right now. Send an email to roundtable@outdoorethics-bsa.org. Whatever works for you is great. You can put it in the feedback that we're going to ask you to do as well. But looking for your ideas, because that's how we get this program to be valuable for you. And here's the feedback. So please, we do value your feedback. We love seeing you here, but we're also want to make sure that we're reaching the right thing, giving you the right information, helping you the best we can. So please do go to the feedback. And finally, the National Outdoor Conference is coming up this fall. I don't know if anyone on the call has an update on where that might stand. Andrea was not able to join us on the call this evening.
What do you mean by where it might stand, Paul?
Well, is registration open yet? You know?
I believe it is.
Okay. All right. Well, I'll ask and
Let me
see
look
if I
it
can
up.
get some information that I can post with the recording, so we can point people to how to get registered on that.
Yeah, I thought there was a link, Matt.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure registration is open. I'm trying to look. Yep, it is. Here, I'll post the link.
Great, thank you. We have upcoming Master Educator courses. One starting next month, actually, at Summit. So if you are interested, highly encourage people to take a Master Educator course. If funding is an issue for you, we've got scholarships available, and there's a link there to the page to learn more information about how to apply for a scholarship to help partially pay for the course.
There's a couple questions in the chat from Mark.
Yeah.
First, to answer one of those, can we have an East Coast conference? The last conference we had was actually in Georgia. The next conference that we're planning on having will actually be at the Summit in 2025. So there will be an East Coast conference. It happens quite frequently. And then how do we get an OE rep in our council and district? Mark, what area of the country are you in? East Carolina Council. Okay, so you'll want to talk to Paul. That's out your way. Who's your service territory person?
We can ask Marshall on that one. Oh, actually, it's on the website. We can figure it out. So
okay, yeah. There's so every council has the service territory that they're in, and we have people that are in each of those areas that can help you coordinate and find the people in your current area. Meredith is also there that would probably be able to help. Yes, Paula.
If you would, what was the exact question again?
How do they get someone in their council, an OE advocate in their council?
That is the council's decision.
Okay.
So if someone is interested, they can contact myself, Ted, or Marshall, and they can point them in the right direction.
Yes,
And
that's
they're
what I
on
was
the
meaning to
website.
say.
Yeah.
Thank you, Paula.
Yeah, no problem. It's that they're working very hard to help those councils in those areas to get the people in place. But it is a council decision, so it does have to come through the council. Thank you for whoever's asking
Thanks.
those questions. Those are the best ones we like to hear.
All right. So here's my my roundtable minute for the evening. This is from a San Calmia almanac, as they usually are. And this is in the April section. Within a few weeks now, Draba, the smallest flower that blows, will sprinkle every sandy place with small blooms. He who hopes for spring with upturned eye never sees so small a thing as Draba. He who despairs of spring with downcast eye steps on it, unknowing. He who searches for spring with his knees in the mud finds it in abundance. So the idea here is a lot of times we go outside and we take youth outside and we really don't take the time to observe and look and see what's around us. So when you're out with your youth, have them look up, find the biggest thing. That's easy. And that's a lot of times we'll do this big tree or whatever we've got here. But also have them look for the smallest thing they can find. Like right now, it's a great time if you're out in the woods. I'm in the mid-Atlantic area, and the spring ephemerals are out everywhere. And if you just take time to look and pay attention out in the woods, you'll see these tiny little just beautiful flowers and stuff. It's a great thing, and it's a kids will have great fun finding these things. So once you've seen the small and the big, have the kids look at it and say, what have I observed about these different things? What's the same about them? What's different? And they'll find out a lot. They know a lot. They'll think a lot. They'll inspire each other to ask questions and just make them better observers of our natural world. So that's my thought for this month. And with that, I believe we've reached the end of this evening's roundtable. Thank you so much for coming. Do look for your ideas for upcoming roundtables. Next month, we'll have the Green Crew come and speak to us, and they'll be talking about their program. The Green Crew, if you haven't heard it, was featured in Aaron on Scouting back in November. It's actually on the front cover of the Isaac Walton League magazine that I just got a couple weeks, last week, I guess it was. And it is a partnership between Venturing and the Isaac Walton League. And it is a really fascinating, exciting idea for getting youth to be conservation leaders. So I hope you'll be back here, and we'll meet the Green Crew in May.